Hello, hello, and welcome. We are 9 little Aussies living in the USA, building a home where we all belong. Where gardens are cultivated, real food is celebrated, agrarian living is reclaimed, where we choose to walk with wonder and faith, eyes wide open to the beauty of life. Where stories and rhyme are a tether that anchor our hearts to the ancient landmarks our fathers have left for our learning, and where all weary souls may find comfort and rest. It is a grand undertaking, perhaps, but a profoundly simple one. I invite you to join us as we reach for the stars with our feet firmly rooted in love and God's good earth. Hello and welcome to my little farm kitchen. My name's Chrissy. I'm really glad to have you here today. We are going to talk about bread. So I am a mum of 7. All of my kids are currently at home still, although a couple are adult, almost adult, in and out of the house, but they're here a lot of the time. And on the property we have my in-laws, so it is not uncommon for me to feed about 15 or so people at a time, sometimes less, sometimes more, it just depends what's going on. But every week, as I seek to nourish them with good, whole, from scratch meals with real food made here in my kitchen, a big part of that is the bread. So I'm going to share with you the 3 loaves of bread, the 3 types of bread that I pretty much make on repeat every week. They're a consistent part of what I do here in my kitchen to feed all my people. I do think it helps to have a solid few things that you know how to do, and you make them regularly until they're pretty much just part of your rhythm. So there are 3 different breads. One is more of a celebratory bread that we just have once a week for a special family meal. The other is an everyday sandwich loaf, and the other is a sourdough artisan bread. And there is particular reasons why I pick those 3. I do think when you have something that you can put on repeat until it's really just second nature and you don't have to think too much about it, it helps when you're trying to bring more from scratch foods into your household, into your kitchen. Just pick 1, maybe 2. If you're very much at the beginning of your bread making journey, you might just want to pick 1 of these breads or another one. It doesn't have to be one of the ones I'm saying, but just learn that and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it until you're really comfortable and confident with it. And then you can add another one. Okay, so this is my little baking corner where a lot of my bread baking happens. Obviously the other kitchen benches are used as well, but I wanted to start here with a couple of book recommendations. Daily Sourdough by Lisa Bass, fantastic book. I have learned so much about sourdough from her. And the Essential Home Ground Flour book by Sue Becker, which again, I really highly recommend. Every kitchen has one of these because the information contained in these 2 books is pretty much the backbone of a lot of what I know about bread making. I've done a couple of online courses as well through the School of Traditional Skills. There are 2 different courses on there which would really help you if you're a beginner. One is a basic introduction to sourdough, and another one is basic bread making, and she introduces you to freshly milled bread if you haven't done that before. that is going to sit there and just hydrate and soak up all of the liquid ingredients for a while. So this is obviously fresh milled bread. It's a sandwich loaf. So it's a more expensive loaf to make than the sourdough bread I'm about to make, which is just literally flour, water, and starter. But what I love about the fresh milled, and you can do fresh milled sourdough bread as well. I have done that and I actually really love it. My family prefers the sandwich bread because it is softer and a bit spongier. And I really truly want them to have the benefits of the fresh milled bread. So I'm going to keep making this sandwich bread every week. This is our daily bread. We have it as toast in the morning, sometimes with eggs, sometimes with just peanut butter and honey, or if we're really lucky, we have some Vegemite in the house. But it's basically, yeah, like just every morning for breakfast, and we make sandwiches out of it. If someone gets peckish and hungry mid-afternoon, they can have a piece of bread. And I know that they're getting good nutrition. Now, obviously, we have the whole rest of our diet. We are not just eating bread. But I think it's a really important component of a good, healthy diet, which of course is not what we've been told for years and years. But there is a lot of information now, which I guess has been there for a long time for those who had access to that information. I did not. I was one of these people who was told for years and years, bread is bad, stay off bread. And I really did feel better for a very long time when I wasn't eating bread, but I didn't realize it wasn't the bread itself, it was the white flour that was really the biggest issue, and not the wheat itself. So I love incorporating fresh milled bread into our weekly rhythm and our weekly repertoire. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that covered there for about a minimum of 20 minutes, but I have found the longer I leave it, like if I can leave it for an hour or so, the better it is. So while that happens, I was telling you about this book, and I really do love the recipes in here. I love what Lisa does. She's very, very thorough. She's very practical. And the recipe that I use again and again, this no-knead sourdough bread. I don't know about you, but what I tend to do is I find a recipe that I like the Sue Becker one for the fresh milled, or and then I tweak it. Like I practice it, I use it, and then I adjust it, I tweak it, which I have done. So I don't exactly follow the Sue Becker recipe. I actually use lemon juice as a dough conditioner instead of the lecithin, and I find it works really well, which is a tip I got from the course I did on the School of Traditional Skills with Kristen Nobles. That's what she does, and I found it works really well. But I like to use a bit less honey and avocado oil than her recipe, just because those are really expensive ingredients, and I am also trying to be frugal and wise with my money, with the budget that our family has. So so I just tend to, I find a recipe, I try it, I work it till I really know it well, and then I tweak it. So that's going to stay there, just sitting in the bowl. We'll cover it with a tea towel and it can hydrate for about 30 minutes. While that sits over there and hydrates, I thought it'd be a good chance to just have a little bit of a bread chat, because when I'm thinking about the breads I want to nourish my family, they're really everyday breads. There are a couple of things that I'm really looking for when I'm choosing what to feed my family. Number one is nourishment. What level of nutrition and goodness is this putting into my people? So the fresh milled sandwich bread that I make every day, we eat every day. I don't make it every day, but I make it at least once a week. Often it'll be twice a week, but there's a lot of us, so you might not have that situation. I choose the fresh milled bread because I know it's really high in nutrition. If you search fresh milled bread, look up Sue Becker. There is so much information out there from her and from others now sharing this really important information about how bread has really kind of been stolen from us, honestly. Bread has nourished civilizations for centuries. I'll give you one quick little fact, and the rest you can go look it up. There is so much information. Whole grains like wheat, spelt, hard white wheat, hard red wheat, all of the whole grains like that have, I believe it's 40 of the 44 essential nutrients to sustain life. So people really did used to live on bread and butter, I guess, because the other 4 that bread doesn't have are things like vitamin D, that we need from sunshine, vitamin C that we need from fruits and vegetables, fresh fruit. I believe there was an amino acid and maybe vitamin A, which comes from meat. So a lot of the nutrients we need for life are found in fresh bread. Real bread, fresh milled and eaten straight away, not eaten straight away, milled and made into bread straight away. It will stay highly nutritious once it's baked into bread if you put it in the freezer for a good long while. But if you mill it and then put it in a bag, for example, and sell it in a store and it sits on the store shelf for days, weeks, maybe months, who knows, then all the nutrition's gone. Number 2, cost. Because if you're anything like me, we operate our home, our homestead, and especially my food budget it's pretty tight. So I'm looking for nutritional bang for my buck, and I'm not going to be able to spend a ton of money, even if it is really nutritious, if it's not affordable. That is one reason why I really love sourdough, and I am incorporating more and more of the fresh milled flour into the loaf, because you're getting, actually it's really affordable. The mill is expensive, but once you have the mill, the wheat berries are not very expensive, and once you grind them to make flour, you end up having bread, really highly nutritious bread for not very much at all. And especially if you're doing something like just a sourdough artisan bowl that is just flour and water, and you make your own starter from flour and water, it's very, very affordable. And I also really love having that traditional skill of being able to take flour and water and make it into a starter, and then make it into bread that rises, and you can bake it in your oven and serve it to your family. And I'm not reliant on the having to buy yeast and a lot of other ingredients. Now, I do buy yeast. I buy the Red Star yeast. Red Star yeast does not have any genetically modified ingredients, which a lot of other yeasts do. So that's something to be cautious of. So I use that. I don't buy organic yeast purely because it is very expensive. So I use, that whole good, better, best model that I have spoken about here before, definitely comes into play. Okay, so we have highly nutritious fresh milled bread. We have also highly nutritious, if you use fresh milled flour, sourdough bread. And the sustainability of making your own yeast. Now, the third bread that I'm going to talk to you about today is the braided challah bread that I make. It's more of a celebratory kind of, I don't know, it's a happy loaf. So I make it once a week for our family dinner. On a Friday evening, sometimes a Saturday evening, we try and gather all the family together. It sometimes includes extra friends, girlfriends, Nini and Popo next door, we get everyone over for a big meal, and I'm just a little bit more intentional about making a dessert, making a nice bread, and the braided challah is a white bread. I make it with organic, real food ingredients, so it's still good food, but it isn't a food I would want to eat every day because it is just straight white flour, which the more we learn and know, the more we know that's not as great for our bellies. But I do think it's a good festive food, and it's okay once in a while to celebrate with something like that. So once a week, we do that. I have become, over the years, especially in the last decade, I would say, grown to understand how very important it is to be really intentional about celebrating and about creating traditions. So, and taking time is not something I'm probably very good at organically. Like, I have to really decide, no, we need to stop, we need to gather together, we need to celebrate and have a feast. So we try to do that on, it's not like a big Christmas feast or Thanksgiving. It is on a smaller scale, but it's still intentionally gathering together for a meal. I'll try and make something a little bit different than just your everyday weeknight meal. I'll do a dessert, and I do the braided challah bread. Time to get back to this. This has been sitting here, and we are going to, this is my starter. We're going to add a cup of this. I keep the starter in the fridge. It's all nice and bubbly. Okay, so the salt and the starter are mixed in. Just gonna pop a tea towel over the top and let that sit for 30 minutes or so. This has been hydrating here for probably close to an hour now. Okay, so all we're gonna do is add some yeast and a bit more flour until it comes together into a nice dough. Okay, so this is I've doubled this recipe, so I'm using 2 tablespoons of yeast. Turn that on. I often just find with this mixer I have to sort of help it off the sides, and we'll add at least 2 more cups of flour. Mixing until everything is fully incorporated, and then it'll need to be kneaded in here in the mixer for about 5 minutes. Okay, you can see it's come together now into a nice cohesive ball. And then if we turn it off, it's, when I pat it, it's not sticking to my finger, but it's also still got movement. It's not too dry. Test is just where we take a small piece and we're going to stretch it and see if we can see light through it without it tearing. There here. I need to turn it up to the light. There's light there. I don't know if you can see that. See, we can see light through it and it's not tearing, it's staying cohesive. What that means is that the gluten has been developed enough through the kneading process to be able to pass that window pane test and not tear. And I'm just gonna let it down, remove the dough hook. Like that, it's come out fairly clean. And we'll cover it with our little cloth and let it rise. It's been sitting here for about 30 minutes or so, roughly. Doesn't matter exactly. I'm just going to reach down underneath and pull some up and do some stretch and folds. Tuck it in, turn, pull and fold. You can see and feel already that the gluten is starting to develop in this. Pull. It's a bit hard to show you. And fold. One more. And that we're going to repeat roughly every 15 minutes for a bit. But honestly, it's very, very flexible. And if I get distracted or if I get busy doing something else, it's actually not a big problem. I will just have a long, I'll come back, I'll do another stretch and fold, cover it, let it rest, and so on and so on. Celebratory festive bread. We have our daily sandwich bread that is full of nutrition and nourishment. I know if my kids get a piece of fresh milled sandwich bread for breakfast, even if we're in a big rush, a lot of times hopefully we'll get an egg on it as well. But even if they don't, it's good nutrition and it's filling their bellies and it's feeding the microbiome of their gut. It's doing or giving them sustained energy. They're not going to have a piece of toast and then crash and burn an hour later, because it's not empty carbs. It's really good whole carbs and it gives them that sustained energy. I notice the sustained energy that I have. Same with sandwiches at lunchtime. It makes sandwiches a health food, so what's not to love about that? And the sourdough artisan bread, again, we just work it into the rhythm of the week, and I'll use it at different times at different meals. Maybe it'll be turned into garlic bread to go with a meal at dinner time. Maybe it'll be cheese on toast for a quick easy lunch. I tend to just bake all the bread. I have it ahead of time and then as I'm going through the week, I'll figure out where it's going to fit in. But it just means I've always got good food ready to serve the family. Okay, so we have the sourdough artisan doing stretch and folds. We've done 3, got a couple more to go. The sandwich bread is rising, and right now I'm going to start the sweet challah bread. We're going to get 2 cups of warm water and put some active dry yeast in it to activate with a little bit of honey. The honey is a sweetener in the bread, but it also activates the yeast. Okay, we're going to put 2 cups of warm water, about a tablespoon of yeast, and then we're going to squeeze in a good size couple of tablespoons, maybe about 2 or 3 tablespoons of honey. All right, now as that sits there, it is going to soften and those bits of yeast will dissolve and it will bubble up and activate. I just realized as I was saying that there's actually, I guess, 3 different kinds of yeast and we're using all 3 in these breads today, quite by accident, but that's how it turned out. So the sourdough artisan bread is using a sourdough starter that I made just with flour and water and harvesting, I suppose, the yeasts that are in the air. Then the fresh mill bread is using instant yeast, which you can just pop straight into the dough when it's already mainly mixed, and it will start to work and do its thing. This is active dry yeast. I buy it in a bigger container and put it in a jar. I get it on Amazon. It's again the Red Star brand, and it is active dry yeast, which means it needs to have a somewhat of an activation stage before you mix it into the dough. So that's what we're doing here. Oh, you can already see it. So you can see already that is starting to bubble. Try and get it focused. That is starting to bubble and froth. 1/2 cup of olive oil. Add that in. 2 eggs. Oh, darn it. Dropped it in there. Best to always check with farm fresh eggs. And a tablespoon of salt. I'm going to have to refill my salt jar. And then 6 cups of flour. Hello, come in. I'm just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, we're just gonna mix this.
I could think that was dirty clothes.
This is quite a sticky dough, so it's not going to be a tight ball and nice and well formed like the sandwich bread. It is quite sticky. So it's still a little bit sticky, but in fact, I might add a little bit more flour to that. Just add a little bit more flour. Now, we don't need this one for very long. And now when I touch it, it's not sticking to my finger, but it's still fairly loose and squishy, which is what we want, nice and hydrated. I'm going to just let that sit, cover it, let it sit for an hour to rise.
You got a tin for down here?
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't?
I do, but he does have it, but he's not giving it. He's not putting it down.
What's he got, a tin?
No, I have a skip bow and 9, and then a 4, and then a 5, and then a 6, and then a 7, then an 8.
Okay, lay one down if you can't play.
He can. He can't save it. He has to put it down.
Why?
actually the next day. What I ended up doing last night is I covered this sourdough bread with some Glad wrap and popped it in the fridge to slow down the rise, and it's risen at least doubled, but it just slowed it down. I did that because I really didn't want to stay up until some crazy hour of the evening to finish it. So I popped it in the fridge to just slow down the fermentation. So now we're going to pop it out on the bench, divide it into divide it into 2 loaves and pop it in these banneton baskets and do the second rise. Out of the oven. They have risen nicely, nice and crunchy on top. This one got a little overdone for what I like, but they'll still be good eating. We'll cut one open and have a look in a second. One thing I will say is you really need to know your own oven. I know with my oven, even though I'm roughly following a recipe, my oven cooks it a lot quicker than the recipe says. So know your own oven, and if you find it's burning on the bottom or it's cooking too fast and getting overdone, reduce your time, maybe reduce the heat on your oven. I actually have done both of those things as I'm doing these loaves. I find that with sourdough, with artisan loaves being done in a Dutch oven, my oven just seems to get too hot and burn them. So I have to put the temperature down a bit, reduce my time. But I didn't mention, I always use one of these little thermometers, and I want the internal temperature of the bread. So what I did when it came out, I'll just show you, I stuck it right in there and I waited and checked. I don't know if you can see the thermometer going up, but I want it to get at least to about 180 or 190. It's been sitting out for a few minutes now, but it's almost still getting to about 180. And that tells me that the internal temperature is enough for it all to be cooked. There's our yummy, nice and soft, good texture, good crumb. This one's the one that got a bit done on the bottom. So I'll probably just cut that crust off, but it's still perfectly good to eat. One thing I forgot to mention when I said the things I'm looking for in breads that I make on a regular basis. Obviously we want nourishment, we want affordability, but we also want the yum factor. It has to taste good and be something that is not only going to be nutritious, but it's going to fill our souls when we eat it. And all 3 of these breads are delicious. And so they definitely have to have that to be on my list of breads that I'm going to be making week in, week out in my regular rhythm for my family.
Well, thank you for joining me in my kitchen today. Let me know if you try one of these or if you have another favorite bread that you like to make all the time. Happy baking, friends, and sunshine and raindrops until next time.